Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you on this rainy day, and we were hoping that we don't have a school rainy day where nobody comes to school at all. So that's a good start we have now, and we'll get started. All of you know Diona, or at least some of you know, right? What is her favorite literary device to introduce her team? Like Gyani Gautam, novel Navneet, alliteration. She uses a lot of alliteration. And what is one literary device which makes a word imitate a sound? What would you call that device? Yes. Thank you for the guess. Thank you for the guess. Onomatopoeia. And that is a word that sounds like a sound, like meow, ar, roar, and Arpita, because she is a pirate. And so this is the power of words. They can make you hear things that you have not yet heard in your real life. Basically, your senses have given you information that is not part of your actual reality. And that is a textbook definition of hallucination. So in books like Kabuliwala, which was by Rabindranath Tagore, he describes the relationship between a father and a daughter. And it was for 4th standard kids. 4th standard kids who are basically almost 10 years old. They don't understand their own father's perspective ever. But they're able to understand the affection for a immigrant father to have affection towards a little girl. In her book, Milkman, the Booker Prize winner author Anna Burns gives a scene where the author gets behaved inappropriately by a stranger. And that description of that scene, that one single touch by that person, was so horrific that I have yet to get out of that mood. That how can a book describe a touch sensation so vividly that you remember it for the rest of your life? So all of our senses, sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, out of them except smell, most of it can be covered by books in a way that your mind accepts it. And not only accepts it, but your mind expands to accept it. And what's the cool about an expanded mind? It never grows, it never decreases back to its earlier proportions. That's the power of reading. And Ruskin Bond says, every time you read my books, when you read it as a child, you read it from the perspective of a kid who is there in the book. And you follow the adventures and you go ahead with that. But when you grow up, you follow the same journey through the eyes of the father. And you understand his anxieties, his worries about letting the child go out, away, or not. And even then, taking the wise choice of taking that risk of letting the child take that adventure. And there are books, all of the best scriptures till now. There's a one definite quality among them is that all of them, if you reread them, you get a different insight each time. You can have a different problem in life, but the same paragraph has 100 different advice for your 100 different problems. And that is the power of reading. It allows you to travel through dimensions that are imaginary, a lot of them, and it allows you to feel things, taste things, touch things, smell things that you have not touched yet. And then you become a very part of a very small minority of the world which reads regularly and has this expanded mind. Like any Toastmasters meetings, we will be following 3 rules today for the meeting. First, please do not talk about sex, politics, or religion in a way that can hurt the sentiments of others. Second, please put your phones on silent mode and keep them in the pocket like I didn't do it till now. And third, please do not walk in or out of the hall while there is a speaker on the stage. You can do so during the applause. The next speaker I'm going to invite is a fan of one of my favorite authors, Robert Greene, who wrote the 48 Laws of Power, and he holds a lot of power over a lot of us today. And he keeps doing the puppeteering for us. And another author he likes is Ogilvy, who is very famous for advertising industry. And he himself is a freelancer, a very successful freelancer. And in Toastmasters, his best quality is his humor. So please welcome on this stage Mr. Humor D. Elite, Toastmaster Shubhankar, presiding officer for today.
Good. Okay. Fellow Toastmasters, future Toastmasters, and guests, a very good evening. The weather in Bangalore for the last couple of days has been bellissimo, or in Kannada, jagas. This kind of weather makes me want to curl up in a corner with a good book and a hot cuppa. But I was not like this when I was growing up in college. I liked corners, cozy corners, and I liked the book, but I used the book as a pillow. My dad used to joke that I am trying some new futuristic experiment by which the contents of the book will kind of permeate into my brain, which didn't happen. I didn't enjoy reading because whenever I opened my school or college books, I started dreaming. So I shut them and put them under my head. So this relationship kind of grew into after my college years when I went working. I was the furthest person away from books. But slowly, with people telling me to read this book and that book and New York bestsellers list and some other list, I picked up books, but I never really read them well or read them for my knowledge. And later on in my life, very late in life, I understood that reading is a joy. And there are two friends who helped me read better, read for understanding, and read the genre which is non-fiction. So I'm going to introduce those two friends to you today. One is called Asa and the other is Lindy. Asa is an acronym which stands EISA. These are levels of reading. E is elementary reading. If you can read an email from your boss, which is a stinker, or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you are done with elementary reading. You can read, you can understand. The next step is I, which stands for investigative reading, which is basically you have time limit. Say you have a time limit of 10 minutes and you are given a book, which it's a new book and you have no idea about it. So what do? You have to decide whether you want to read it, you want to have a conversation with the author or not, whether you want to put enough time into it. So what do? You go through the book jacket. There will be a summary. Go through that. Turn around the book. At the end of the book, outside, there will be a summary of the book or the author. Read that. Dive into the contents, the table of contents. Go through that. Go to the end of the book in the index. Find the most often used words. Dip into one of the pages. Read it. So by doing this, you will figure out how the author talks. Is it interesting for you? Is the subject interesting? Or is it not worth your time? So you will be able to decide that. I used to always skip this inspectional reading bit. And this is a waste of time. If you don't do it, it's a waste of time. Now, once you've done inspectional reading, next step is analytical reading. It's basically more or less, you are having a conversation with the author. You go into the table of contents, you summarize chapters in your own words, you underline things, you make notes on the sides, you highlight stuff, make the book your own. So this will get you from a place of understanding the subject less to understanding the subject more. Now once you've done that, that gives you a little more knowledge about that subject. And the last level of reading is called syntopical reading. It's a fancy word, but what it basically means is you don't limit yourself to one book for knowledge. For example, I will take up a controversial topic, religion. If you read one book, and decide that that is your point of view or the author's point of view is right, you are limiting yourself. So pick up many books. Pick up the Gita, pick up the Quran, pick up the Bible, pick up the Holy Granth, and read about it. This will not tell you what is right and what is wrong, but it will give you many perspectives of the same subject. This will help you internalize various topics like how-tos, betterment of yourself. These are all in the genre of non-fiction. So, from elementary reading to inspectional reading, you have made choices which ones you want to read. Now you have a bunch of books. How do you choose between them? Which one should you read and which one should you drop? There comes my friend Lindy. There is a law called Lindy's effect, which, if I cut out the technical mumbo jumbo, it basically means if a subject has stood the test of time, then it is worth investing your energies into it. So what it basically means is, rather, if you are going to learn a subject, rather picking up the trending book, the latest book, how not to give a dash, pick up a book which has survived the test of time on that subject. It will bode you well. So now that I have introduced you to my two friends, Lindy and Asa, are we ready to start meeting 1197? Yes. I open the meeting 1197. So next up, we have this young and charming guy who has shown us many sleight of hand tricks. He's stepping in today as the secretary. He loves reading thrillers, mysteries, and he also loves ebooks and audiobooks. Please give a big round of applause to welcome on stage Toastmaster Sunny.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Shivankar. As Shivankar pointed out, I really enjoy audiobooks, especially ebooks as well, but audiobooks as well. And because our theme for the day is about ebooks or books in general, let me very quickly, before I present my secretary report, tell you a little bit about audiobooks, which has become very popular nowadays. Audiobooks are just fascinating. I really enjoy listening to audiobooks, especially audiobooks that have been narrated by the same author. The author of the book is also the narrator of the book. Because you know, you can listen to audiobooks when you're driving or when you're just doing chores in the house. You don't have to sit and read, you don't have to dedicate time, especially when you're driving. I've reached a stage where I actually enjoy traffic jams because I'm listening to an audiobook, especially an audiobook by the authors. You really get to know what the author was thinking about when he or she wrote that book and is now narrating it. You really get to learn a lot about that particular subject. So if you're not into reading, I understand it's sometimes difficult, so I highly encourage you to take up audiobooks, listen to audiobooks when you're driving or doing some chores, and really, you get to read the same content that way. But coming back to my role for today, Toastmasters, I would like to recap our very interesting meeting that we had last week. Last week's meeting was about rejuvenation, right? And we had a focus on health is wealth. That was our theme of the day. We had Ashutosh who started our meeting by highlighting how we need to prioritize, especially mental health, something that we often overlook nowadays. So mental health is often as important as physical health, yet we overlook this important aspect of our life. And Ashutosh highlighted the importance of taking care of mental health. So very good there. Then we had our president, Toastmaster Harshita, who spoke about very famous personalities like Deepika Padukone and J.K. Rowling, who are very successful career women and have achieved a lot professionally. Yet sometimes very successful people struggle sometimes with their personal life. So why is this the case, and how can we overcome this? So we had a good speech about that. Then we had our first speaker, Toastmaster Tejas, who gave us his second speech now. And Tejas your speech is very interesting. He gave us this heavenly speech, how you were picturing this heavenly speech to Goa. But along the way, rather than a heavenly journey to Goa, you are having hallucinations about a trip to hell. Yeah, because the bus was in such good condition that looked like you were taking to hell. So it's really was a very interesting and humorous speech. Then we had Toastmaster Diona, who gave us a very insightful speech about rejuvenation, like solo traveling. So if you want to rejuvenate and take up solo traveling, and she spoke about how she went to Rishikesh and really it was the great source of rejuvenation for her. So that was a good speech. And then we had a guest speech from Lata, who spoke about mental health once again, and very importantly, showed us the story of Albert Einstein, one of the greatest minds of all time, and how Albert Einstein became a genius because he was conditioned to believe he was a genius. And if it weren't for those conditions, that conditioning, he would have been hallucinating about how a failure he would have been. But because there was an intervention and he was conditioned to believe he was a genius, he ended up being probably one of the greatest geniuses of all time, if not the greatest. So it really was a very good meeting, a very rejuvenating meeting, which was the theme of the day. And I really think that this meeting will also be just as good, if not better. Back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, Sunny, for the report. We have a couple of guests here. Hi, could you introduce yourself? Give me a.
My name is Dr. Amit. I'm an Ayurvedic doctor.
Okay.
And this is the second time I'm coming to Toastmasters. I've already been once before.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to the program.
All right. Welcome. Hi.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yes, I think I met most of you last time when I was here. And yes, I'm an avid reader myself. And I dream with my eyes open. Even when my eyes are closing and I'm ready to sleep, a good book, one that I just can't put down. I can stay up all night and read it. I can tell you, the other side of midnight, Sydney Sheldon, if anybody has read it. It's something that, you keep turning pages. And when I was very young, it was James Hadley Chase and Earl Stanley Gardner. All those books I could never, I because say, reading is swimming with your eyes open, so I'm dreaming. And the other word, and it used to take me to a world of hallucination because I can imagine everything. I could picture everything, the description of everything, there's fire, there's a sniper somewhere on the corner. It would give me the chills. So it also gave me a chance to hallucinate and deep dive into the book. Nice to meet you all again.
Thank you. Hi, you are. Good. Sure. Thank you. Would you like to talk, sir? Okay, fine. You're comfortable. Fine. Okay. Yeah, I know. She looks bored. Okay. So next up, to take the meeting forward. Okay, before I go there, have any of you guys seen the Cred commercial with Rahul Dravid in it? You have? Rahul Dravid in the Cred commercial where he's Indira Nagar ka Don. Yeah, that bit. So this next personality who's coming up, he has this kind of split personality. One, when you talk to him, he's normal, he's the nicest guy around. But on the stage, there's a complete different beast that comes out. He enjoys reading, and I am amazed to find out that he doesn't like ebooks or audiobooks. He still likes paper, and you will probably soon see him on the top 30 under 30 list. I'm very, very sure of it. And please give a big round of applause to welcome the Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Piyush. Oh, and one more thing I forgot. One of the books on his list is the Obesity Code. Really? Welcome. Thank you.
Everybody, good evening. How are you doing today?
Very well.
How is the rain? Are you enjoying the weather?
Yes.
I love rainy days. I really love rainy days. And today, this rain has really elevated my energy. And I hope I bring that elevated energy to today's meeting. So today, I want to share with you my quest for hallucination. Being in an engineering college, studying engineering, we have no other work to do. So one sunny afternoon, I thought, okay, let me do something different. Then I searched this word called we tried, I went to Google. I saw how to person hallucinate. First result came, don't sleep for 24 hours. Okay, I tried that. What happened was after 24 hours, I felt, I thought, I felt that somebody kissed me on the cheek, but it was my teacher's lap. So my hallucination failed. Second research was through a breathing technique. In that it was that hey, you have to inhale two
এটা কি
times and exhale
দেখে
one
নিন
time. You have to keep continuing this. It was like
এটা কি এটা ডাউনলোড করুন
you have to keep doing this for half an hour and then you start hallucinating. I started to do this with a friend. After 30 minutes, he was telling me I can hear ghosts, I can see all this, so I stopped. I was like, okay, no need, no need. Third, and the most interesting, the third result came to take some drugs. And you know what I did? No, I didn't take drugs because it was not available to me, and I don't take drugs. So next question, then recently I asked ChatGPT, tell me how to hallucinate. It told me, read Harry Potter. So I read Harry Potter, and suddenly I saw I am in a magical world. I have wands, I can do magical wish, and that is how I found my hallucination, and I continue to hallucinate every night for 1 hour before sleeping by reading books. So guys, want to hallucinate? Read books. With this note, are you guys ready for today's meeting?
Yes.
Everybody, please, come. Whoever standing, please can you So today's meeting will have three parts. First part is speaker speech section, where we have two speakers who will come on stage and deliver the speeches. Second part is the table topic section, where we have a table topic master who will come on stage and roast and give topic to the person they hate the most, and the person has to speak for 1 minute. And the third and final section is when all of the things that we do today is evaluated, and it is a attendance management. Today will be going in this order. So before moving on, I would like to call the headmaster of today's meeting. Without this person, this meeting wouldn't be fruitful. So this person has been a Toastmaster for more than 2 decades. He has been president of his club for more than 5 times. One thing that I really like about him, one thing that is similar with me and him is that he likes a book, How to Build Friends and Influence People, and I like that book, although I haven't made friends with that. But one thing that I really like about him is that one book that has changed his life is the Bhagavad Gita. So without further ado, please welcome the general collaborator for today, Toastmaster Jagadish.
really need this. That's okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. T. Modi. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's dull like the weather outside. All right. Well, I don't think we have the hall full, but then let's not deter ourselves that we are a very hand few here. However, like the TMOD introduced me, I'm not going to be your headmaster. I'm just going to evaluate the meeting right from the word go until the last speaker and until the TMOD calls me back on the stage to present the evaluation. Are we all good to go? Well, as we all know, a Toastmasters meeting is evaluated right from the word go until the end. And I stand before you as the general evaluator for meeting number 1197. Well, this has been a long journey of sunshiners. It's indeed my privilege to be with you this evening. For me to play this role as a general evaluator, I have a team. I have a team as in a TAG, which is an acronym for Timer, Accounter, and the Grammarian. To extend this team, we also have a listener who will come over here and test our listening skills. I'm sure as Toastmasters, listening is one of the most integral part of learning. All agree? Well, I take this opportunity to introduce to you my tag team. Let's start with the timer. Timer's role is being played by Toastmaster Vinay. Please, may I request you to explain the timer's role to the audience? Over to you. Chandan.
Hello everyone. Good evening. So I'll be the timer for today. As you know, I'll be timing all the speeches, evaluation, and the table topics. The prepared speeches will be of duration 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, I'll be raising the green card. At the 6 minutes, I will be raising the yellow card, and at 7 minutes, I will be raising the red card. Similarly, for the table topics, I'll be raising table topics is between 1 to 2 minutes, and I'll be raising the green card for 1 minute, and the yellow card for 1.5 minutes, and the red card for the 2 minutes. I'll be also evaluating the. I'll be also timing the evaluation session, which will be between 2 to 3 minutes.
Thank you. That let's hold the applause. The timer's role is being played by Chandan and not Vinay, as I have known from the agenda. So excuse me if I call the wrong names, if there is any changes. The accountan's role is being played by Toastmaster Shruti, if I am right. No, there's a change again. Jagdish, is it?
Good evening to one and all. Good evening. Good evening. So today I'll be acting as a art worker. So as part of my role, I will be noting down the filler words which the speakers are using. And the filler words are like but so. So I request all the speakers to refrain from using the filler words. So if you refrain and you concentrate on the filler words, not to use it, so you can take your speakers to the next level. So once the general level weight is possible, so I'll come and review this completely. Thank you.
Thank you. That is Toastmaster Jagdish, my namesake. The grammarian's role, I am sure, is being played by Aranya. All right, Aranya, please let me call you over. Uh,
Good evening to our first president and JC. I'm playing the role of the grammarian today. As the grammarian, I'll be paying special attention to your choice of words and sentences that you choose today. I'll also be noting them down and sharing them with my phone at the end. As the grammarian, it's also my responsibility to introduce the word of the day, which Ashutosh is a village Java. But just to reiterate, the word of the day is hallucination, which means it's about perceiving something that's not real, and the perception is driven by our senses. So it can be something that you see, you listen, you smell, or even something that you feel. Note this and use the word as many of you already done that.
Thank you, Toastmaster. Thank you for introducing the word of the day. Moving further, the final one from my team is the listener's role being played by Tejas, if I'm correct. Toastmaster Tejas.
Good evening, everyone. This morning I heard someone talk about the possibility of raining in the evening, rain in the evening. I should have listened to that. I forgot my umbrella, obviously, and we get to this. So listening is so important. Listening is so important. It breaks away the internal hallucinations that we have. Right? So now you might say, okay, everyone listens. What's the big deal in that? Well, the problem is one of your ears is in input mode, other ear is in output mode. What goes in comes out. The most important part of listening is the retention. We can listen to anything, but retaining is important. So as a listener, I'll be taking in the important and interesting bits from the speeches and everything that happens today. And at the end, I'll be asking some questions. So just to make sure that you listen well and to find out who's the best listener after me. Thank you.
Excellent. There was a lot of wisdom from the listening aspect from the listener himself. Before I leave the stage, I must tell you all, being a Toastmaster for over 2 decades, this is the first time I'm going to be attending a Toastmasters meeting with the Sunshiners, with a pet inside. Uh, I have never experienced one before, though I have two pets at my home. They are mischievous. They are still young ones, but then let's see what our friend will do here. He is listening very well. On that note, I will hand the control back to the TMOD. Over to you.
Everybody please give Everybody please give a huge round of applause to Toastmaster Jagadish. And Toastmaster Jagadish, we are glad to have you. So everybody, I'm the dancer here. So before we move on, I would I want to ask a question. How many of you here do not have the habit of reading books? Okay, one, two, okay, okay, half of the room. Yeah, half of the room. I would suggest one book that you start with. This, if you start with this book, your reading journey will be, much more productive, much more better. And the title of this book is How to Read a Book. I am not joking. This is a book which I have read. How to read a book. It will tell you how to read a book, and it will really tell you how can you, digest a book. What you can do to get maximum information out of it. So have that in your library and read that. So moving on with our prepared speech. Are you guys ready? Yes. Are you guys ready? Yes. Come on, guys. Are you guys ready? Yes. Yes. We are ready for the prepared speech section now. Before I call the first speaker, I would like to call the person's evaluator. Now, this person, he does not need books to dream. Chances are there's a 5% chance that the dress you're wearing has been manufactured by this person. Without further ado, everybody, please help me in welcoming Toastmaster Tarun as the evaluator of the first speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. And the speaker for today is attempting engaging humor pathway L1P4, and the purpose of the project is to practice applying feedback and serve as a speech evaluator during the club meeting, and for the member to demonstrate the ability to deliver an effective, respectful speech and evaluation speech. Time 5 to 7 minutes.
Are you guys ready for the first speech of today's evening? Yes. So the